Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm ZS Caraval from ZK Research, and I'm in San Francisco at the RSA24 show. I'm actually in the Menlo Security suite. I'm joined by Nick Edwards. Nick, you are VP Product Management for Menlo. Just a little quick bio on yourself, and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I'm a Kansas City native, and I got to the cybersecurity world somewhat circuitously. I started as a naval officer on submarines.
That's an interesting job.
Yeah. A different part of security.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there's only so much time you can spend in a steel tube underwater. Got out, transitioned to the civilian world. But I always resonated with this notion of fighting the bad guys. And so cyber really attracted me to that. And it's good to be on the side of helping people communicate, collaborate more safely and securely.
And for those not familiar with Menlo Security, what do you guys do?
So Menlo focuses on browser security. As we all know, the browser is essentially becoming the operating system of our day-to-day work lives and personal lives. We focus on securing that from threats from the outside, phishing, ransomware, as well as providing a better way to access applications securely.
And as I mentioned, we're at RSA. It's day 2. So yesterday we had a bunch of keynotes, a bunch of news come up today. Anything catch your eye? Anything of interest?
I mean, I think just in general, there's kind of two trends that I think we're seeing in the show. One is obviously just the continued pace of trying to evolve and update the secure approach towards network transformation. The other aspect is we're seeing more momentum and interest in is how can we think about the workplace of the future? What does that mean? How does it change as legacy approaches to accessing applications, VDI, et cetera, evolve? And those are two tracks that I think are definitely kind of underway and are really gaining a lot of mind share.
Yeah, and so when you think of a secure enterprise browser, that's an industry that's been around not a tremendously long time, but when I mention it to buyers, they often confuse it with, the old browser isolation, the RBI industry. So talk about the differences between what you're doing today versus what people might have experienced in the past.
Yeah, so I think in the past, people looked at RBI, which is not a great term, as just this thing that helps you protect browsers from vulnerabilities. And RBI is great at that, no doubt about it. But as you look at the future, and as we've talked to our customers and thinking about where we want to go, the browser is increasingly the focal point for doing almost everything that you do in your work job. And that means that you have to protect the users from the badness of the internet and threats, whether it's ransomware, exploits, malware, as well as use this as a way to provide a better approach, a zero trust approach to accessing applications and data. And the browser being the focal point means that you can deliver those types of capabilities using the architecture that we've developed and deployed over the years, using the combination of a cloud browser that's secure with an endpoint steering footprint that allows customers to maximize and literally solve a lot of use cases.
Yeah, and I think one of the big differences that I've seen from the way you go to market versus what technologies of the past is you're not replacing the browser, you're working with it. And so if I'm a worker and I want to use Chrome, I can use Chrome. If I want to use Edge, I can use Edge. I don't know who wants to use Edge, but if I want to use Safari, I can use Safari. Is that a fair characterization?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the big things about this category is the notion is right, that, hey, we got to upgrade what we're doing with the browser to make it enterprise grade. There's a lot of things in the browser that are designed for consumers. But at the same time, people don't want to necessarily have to install another endpoint software to manage. They don't want to have to deal with the user friction. And people want to use what they've always used, which is these browsers. And we talk to development teams at large banks. They want to build and deploy code using the kind of testing infrastructure that their users use, which is Chrome or Edge or Safari, Firefox. My mom logs into the bank using a consumer browser. That's how people want to build and live and test. So I think that there's a lot of interest in, rationale that's sane for using the enterprise browser that comes installed with better security.
And why can't just regular old firewalls and IPS systems, traditional security, solve that problem? Why do I need a whole separate secure internet browser?
Yeah, because I think in a lot of ways, just the firewall landscape was designed for this kind of network stuff. And as the browser has become more feature rich, it's not just go to a web page, view content. It's, there's USB access, there's all speech to text, there's a ton of functionality on there that's only expanding. The bad guys know they can exploit that attack surface. And firewalls aren't designed for it. You really need to have full-on context of what's happening in the browser, telemetry, and apply some of the newer technologies like AI to replicate what a security researcher would do when they're trying to determine badness. Firewalls, proxies, they're great for securing the plumbing. They're not great for securing the workspace.
And talk about how, so obviously AI is a big part of the show. And talk about how you've used AI to make your product, to really bolster your product and make it more user-friendly and more effective.
Yeah, so I think there's a great use case that we delivered for this, which is addressing phishing. Now, the phishing landscape continues to evolve. It's an arms race, as we know.
There's really good phishing out there now.
There's really good phishing, and these kits now, like Evil Proxy and these adversary in the middles that are basically reverse proxying web page. You can't use signatures on the web page content because it is the literal login page of the target site. Yeah. So what we can do with AI is basically do what a human would do. You look at the web page using computer vision, use AI to determine, hey, is this a logo or not? And you use AI and other capabilities to say, is there a login field? Is there a password field? All these things in conjunction with ML approaches to understanding the URL. And then you can provide for a determination in real time, is this a phishing page or not? And this is something that doesn't require a signature. Traditionally with phishing, you have to have someone be a patient zero. Hey, this link is a bad link. Let everyone know, and then you can block it. Today's landscape, they only have to be right once. They're using these advanced phishing kits, like you said. You need a different approach, and AI is born for that.
Yeah, that takes all the heavy lifting out of it. In fact, I was talking to somebody about AI in a different context, actually in the world of sports, and I thought it was an appropriate one here, where they were talking about how AI lets the untrained eye see what the trained eye does, right? And in security, really, I think there's a lot of very security savvy people like myself and you that when you get a link and you think it's suspicious, you can go through all the steps, but your average consumer can't, or your average worker.
Exactly.
Right? So you think of your stockbroker.
The organizations want their stockbroker to be the world's best stockbroker, not the world's best stockbroker and the world's best cyber person. Same thing. Like we have big presence in government, militaries. They want their people to be doing that job as best they can, not to have to wear another hat of a cyber person. That doesn't mean you don't train. That doesn't mean you don't educate. But allow tools to do the job they're used for, and AI is a great tool, like you say, for that.
I actually think that if we get into a world where you don't have to train, where the machines know it for you, that's the best of all scenarios. Because no matter how good you are, people get caught by it.
Yeah, and the bad guys are using the same tools that the good guys are using. So it's the arms race continues.
Yeah. So ahead of the show, late last week, you guys had some big news in a partnership with Google based off some of the news they had at their event earlier this year. So talk about the partnership with Google and what you're doing with them and how it helps users.
Yeah, so we're really excited about it. It is a strategic partnership between Google and Menlo Security. And there are a couple areas where we're really kind of grinding in and working together. The first of which is working with Mandiant. So Mandiant, as you know, the blue chip of incident response and really good at threat intelligence. We're working with them to do cross-training and enablement and tooling and that sort of thing to help better address threats and incidents. And so that's something that is a key thread there. The other aspect is with a strategic partnership, we're expanding our global reach. They have a wealth of presence all around the world. We are a cloud first company, and we can use that footprint to expand where we may not have coverage today. So we're really excited about it. There's a lot of smart folks there, and they share our vision, particularly around this broader enterprise browser landscape, which is, look, people want to use the browser they've always used. Yeah. How can we do that in a way that gives better security outcomes for the enterprise?
Yeah, to me, what that did, and I wrote a piece on it in SiliconANGLE, is it really validated the secure internet browser or secure enterprise browser space because, the bear case on it is that you can, like I said, use Chrome and use other security technologies, but if the world's leading browser company is partnering with you, to me, that really validates that this indeed is a market.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They know it. They see it. They want to deliver a great solution for their customers, and it's really going to be a great partnership on that.
Now, I know the low-hanging fruit for this industry has historically been VDI replacement. Right? Nobody really likes VDI. In fact, I often thought VDI was a stepping stone to a world where we were more browser-based, right? So, but more and more, I've heard companies talk about using a secure enterprise browser almost as a gateway to generative AI because companies are really struggling with what they do with that. And so first, what are you seeing from your customers about Gen AI? Are they, are most companies trying to adopt it? Then how does Menlo Security fit into that? Yeah,
so I think in general, customers know that like this train has left the station. Genie's out of the bottle, you can't get it back in. So there's customers fall into two camps. One is like, we don't know what we're going to do yet, so we're blocking it. Okay. Now, the problem with that is we all know if you block something, someone's going to find a way around it as a well-intended employee. Pull out the phone, answer the question, and then put that in their work world.
When I hear things like that, I always think of the old Jurassic Park movie where Jeff Goldblum said, "Life finds a way."
Life finds a way,
right?
Absolutely.
Users find a way. If you say you can't do something, they're going to find a way. You're not going to know about it, and that's worse.
That's worse.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So then you have the other customers who are like, well, we're going to try to sort this out, but we don't want to be left behind. It's like everything in the productivity-wise. If you're a year behind, that means your competitors are a year ahead, and they're using and adopting these technologies. So what we're seeing is the camp who's moving ahead, they're not doing it with a ton of controls just yet, and they're kind of like, well, let's figure it out. Hope we can find a solution before something bad happens. That's where I think we can help customers. The number one concern is around data security and privacy. Going through a technology like an enterprise browser, since most of these tools like OpenAI's ChatGPT, DALL-E, or Gemini from Google, they're typically using kind of browser-based access for these things. An enterprise browser can provide very granular controls, such as don't allow people to paste content in. The well-intended employee, they take meeting notes, they copy their JavaScript snippet, they dump it in for cleanup. You can help them prevent that by preventing pasting, but maybe allow them to type things in. That's one thing. Second thing is obviously you want to apply whatever kind of data security solutions for that, DLP dictionaries, et cetera. But one of the things that we deliver to customers that's really novel here is the ability to use forensics so you can keep a record of what people are doing with ChatGPT as they evolve their understanding. So everything that goes through the Menlo's Secure Cloud Enterprise Browser, we can keep a forensic copy. It goes to the customer's repository, screenshots, the inputs, all that data is available. So the customers can then start to have a better understanding of what are people doing, how should we use it, what type of policy should we implement, and so forth. So the enterprise browser is a great use case for that type of functionality. You need to have those types of features for it.
Yeah, I think sometimes when I talk to companies about how employees have been using generative AI, it's almost like the employees forget the types of meetings they do over Zoom or things they chat over Slack, and they're taking content right out of those chat sessions and putting them in there, but yet they're discussing customer records or the quarterly results and things like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think the employee has any bad intentions.
Right.
I just think they're trying to do their job more efficiently. And so if you're looking to summarize a meeting, hey, ChatGPT can do a great job of that, but you can't summarize all meetings at it.
Yeah, exactly, you can't. So I mean, some customers are deploying their private instances, which has some benefit, but still you can still put sensitive data in there, and then that becomes available for other people using it. So you still want to have best practices. That's why you're seeing evolution of like the MITRE framework to address these types of things. And I think smart organizations are thinking ahead, and they're trying to make bets on solutions that can kind of give them the longevity they need.
Yeah, and how about the continued momentum of remote work? I thought we would stay in a world where we were partially remote, but the amount of pushback employees have given employers where they've had to walk back these mandates has been stronger than I thought. But that's got to be a driver for you as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we went one way with the pandemic, and I think companies are trying to correct, but the challenge is, like I say, like the employees have spoken in a lot of ways, and you don't want to lose talent. So I think organizations are trying to strike the right balance of, okay, is it 2 days, 3 days, 1 day a week, whatever. I think it's particularly hard for new college grads. You got to learn from somebody, Like so much of our world is around apprenticeship, whether we call it apprentices or not. You can't get that as well remotely. Yeah. But still, people are going to want to be remote, and you need tools to do that. You need a better security approach. And with the browser being so focal and central to everything, you need to have a purpose-built solution for it to give customers the ability they need to secure it while allowing access.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that, where I find interesting, that even if you could use traditional enterprise security, that doesn't extend to the person's house.
Yeah,
right? I'm not giving you a next generation firewall to drop into your basement, right? So, so that would fall down there.
Yeah, and if you have contractors, for example, this kind of thing, like you can't do the old day of issue them a VPN or a computer. That's too costly. And like you say, VDI is legacy technology.
I think the world's over VDI now.
Yeah, exactly. That ship has sailed, I think. Yeah.
And so you had the partnership with Google. You had a big launch early this year. What's coming from Menlo Security next?
Yeah, so we're continuing to invest in delivering customers a great approach to allow them to secure their browsers that are already in place in their environment. So some of the features that we're investing in are, one, giving customers the ability to understand what are the posture of my browsers in their environment. So customers can assess their endpoint browser settings, take best practices from industry benchmarks, and then upgrade their fleet of browsers. That's a hard problem to solve. There are thousands of settings in browsers. We can make that easy for them. 1, 2, 3, super simple. We're also continuing to invest in forensic capabilities so people can understand what are my users doing. If you roll back the clock, endpoints didn't have any forensics. They started getting hacked. No. We built out all this forensic tools. Yeah. The browser is still a black box. Like if you want to understand what happened in a browser, call the weblog guys, call the firewall log guys, try to correlate in your SIM with the endpoint. That is just not really ideal or effective for browsers if you're trying to quickly respond to incidents. So we have a great approach that we're continuing to invest in that will allow customers to open up a portal, see the DVR replay of a user's web session to address incidents, that kind of thing. And then, of course, just continued investment in protecting users from the badness on the internet using some of our AI capabilities for threat prevention, as well as protecting access to sensitive applications and data. So a lot of investments there focused on the browser, really trying to allow people to use the browsers they have, but deliver better security outcomes using the combination of our form factors.
All right, so it sounds like better ease of use and more data for analytics. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm excited about what you're trying to do with analytics too, because I think you're collecting so much data. And I think organizations today have realized that good security hygiene starts with data.
It really does. And I think also, like when you're thinking about AI application of data, like first you got to get the data. Like the AI result is only as good as the data you have access to.
Yes.
Since we're operating kind of in this cloud browser layer, we have a ton of telemetry that allow our customers to have better security outcomes, more insights, and to have better overall productivity.
All right, Nick. Well, congratulations on the Google partnership. Anything else you want to add?
Nope, that's great. Just happy to participate in the RSA. It's great to see such a critical mass around trying to solve this problem. A lot of work to do, but let's brace up and go for it.
Well, have a great rest of the show.
All right, thank you, Zayas.
So on behalf of Nick Edwards, I'm ZKast from ZK Richardson. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on my next episode of ZKast.